Alright, let me get that going. Let me get this going. Come on, where? Oh, there it is. Perfect. Alright. So, I guess we should probably have theme music, right? So, let's get a little stuff going to get us pumped up. So,
there we go.
There you go. Alright. So, here's Logan and Nick's little mock draft thingy. We've been kind of going back and forth on Twitter for the last, I'd probably say, couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Talking about the draft, just getting into it. I'm just kind of excited about the whole idea. I think for both of our teams, we kind of have a new chapter. I'm a Bucks fan. Nick is a Nuggets fan, and we just. I mean, it can be exciting though for you. I mean, I think if things break the right way for you in the draft, and depending, for free agency for the Nuggets and stuff like that, they have a lot of pieces to play with, I think. And I don't know, just my opinion. I think if they went, and not necessarily full tank, but just full rebuild, and just went young, I think that would probably suit them.
I think that's where they're at right now.
I mean, they have solid pieces that they can move around. I mean, they have 4 guys that I think other teams would probably covet. I mean, you've got Wilson Chandler, who teams would want. You've got Dying Bird, who teams would want. And then I really think...
Also known as Gallo.
Yeah, also known as Danilo Gallinari. And then Ty Lawson and Kenneth Faried are borderline all-stars. Ty Lawson was an all-star, wasn't he?
Yep, one time.
Yep. So, I mean, these are players that I think maybe if you carved them up and split them up individually could be utilized on other teams pretty well. Not to say that Denver didn't utilize them right. They basically quit on their coach last year.
But. Yeah. I didn't like the hiring of Brian Shaw to begin with. I just didn't think he was going to fit because the Nuggets are, mostly a fast break team, and he wanted to come in and bring that down low paint, half court offense. That team isn't built for it.
That doesn't seem to make sense when you have a high energy power forward who gets up and down like why can't I think of his name now? I just said it. Power forward Faried, and you have one of the fastest point guards in the league. Like that just doesn't seem seems kind of counterproductive. I don't know.
It was rough to watch. It was rough. You could see by the middle of the season that they kind of gave up a little bit.
Well, and
it was over already.
What was that story that came out? Like in the huddle, they were talking about like
only 26 more games.
Yeah, or 2 weeks, or like 8 weeks or something like that, or 7 weeks or something. Yeah, that's not a good look. But
no.
I guess we could just run through this thing here and go pick by pick, think what we could happen, what we a couple of trades we have been thinking up. Now that the Bucks have done this whole thing today, I don't know if they'll necessarily trade up like I had originally thought. But we can go ahead and just kick this thing off with, who do we got? We've got the Minnesota Timberwolves at number 1. I actually kind of like their core. I'm still not exactly sure about it, but I think I feel good about Wiggins, obviously. I love that trade.
Yep.
No pun intended. I think I like Gorgui Deng. I mean, I don't know. He's a young center. That's a position that takes a while to kind of fill out. I think they're done with Pekovic. I think they're probably going to try to move him either in the draft or sometime, sign and trade type deal. He just can't stay healthy. He's good, but he's just a guy who can't stay on the floor.
He and Rubio, I honestly think, could possibly get moved next year, in the next season here.
Yep, that'll be interesting. That's what I have them slotted in for me with Karl Anthony Towns. I think that Pekovic is definitely on his way out. He's probably the most all-around skilled big guy I know that the league is trending away from big guys, but I just feel like he's one guy that if you pass up on him, that he'll probably bite you in the ass if you don't take him. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of trying to stay away from centers with, the past few years, other than Anthony Davis, really.
They're hard to grade out.
Big guys. Yeah, and I mean, I still have, that Kristaps Porzingis kid. I still have him going number 1 just because I think he can shoot and kind of fill in as the next, really, Kevin Love for that team. But as far as centers go, I think they'll hang on to Dang and have him go out the whole year and kind of wait out the process next year.
That's true. And the thing with me for Anthony Towns is he could play forward for you. He can shoot a little bit, but his range isn't anything like what I've seen of Porzingis. I think if you wanted to go, like if they wanted to stretch this rebuild out for even longer, Porzingis wouldn't be a terrible option. Because I mean, he's obviously going to probably take a whole year to adjust to the American game. I mean, just like any college kid would. But like Europeans, it just takes a while. I'm just worried about the whole Bargnani factor with him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because they're kind of the same player, right? 7 foot, great shooter, doesn't really translate well defensively. I mean, he's long, which helps.
Yeah. I just don't know if the footwork is there.
Exactly. And a lot of times if you are big, and a lot of people make the whole, well, how is he going to stop this guy? How is he going to stop this guy? A lot of people don't stop great centers. That's just how it works. You just don't. I mean, even good defensive centers have their trouble against Tim Duncan. Good defensive centers have their troubles against Anthony Davis. It's not like, he's just automatically going to come in there and be able to stop people. So
no, they're going to find their ways of scoring or doing whatever they need to do.
Exactly. And centers is one of those positions where it really does take a couple of years. DeAndre Jordan is considered a max player now. A couple of years ago when he got drafted, he was an afterthought. Like, people were like, what is this guy? What is he doing? But, so, all right. Going on to the Lakers, I'm still frustrated they got number 2. I don't know. It just...
Yeah.
I don't want to feel bad for the Knicks because I hate the Knicks and Knick fans to me. I know they've suffered a while, but, like, just the whole idea of the New York fan bugs me. Like, I don't know. I kind of feel bad that they got screwed and got the 4th, but anyways, the Lakers have number 2. They can do whatever they want. I've seen them tied to just about all 3 of the guys that are considered the top guys as far as Okafor, Russell, and Moutier are concerned. So I guess what just came out today was that the Lakers are nearly a done deal on Okafor. I think I could still see them taking Russell. What do you think?
I'm still pretty set on Moutier.
Moutier.
I think he's going to be a really good combo guard to learn under Bryant. Like I've said before, I just think he's so quick. He's going to be able to attack, and he's just going to have really good footwork coming in right away.
And honestly, it's going to be a rookie year for Randall too. Just like with Jabari for the Bucks, it's basically a whole new rookie year for him. So there's still going to be a lot of growing pains. I mean, Moutier grades out like a Russell Westbrook. Not a great shooter yet. Extremely athletic, can get to the hole. I think a lot of it is going to come down to his defense if he decides he wants to guard people, because if he's out in LA, you got to guard. One night you're guarding Chris Paul, the other night you're coming back, you're guarding Lillard. There's a lot of great point guards in the Western Conference. It's just the whole league in general. There's great point guards. So. But it really is a toss up for the Lakers. I guess I would just take Okafor if I was them, to kind of pair up Randall and Okafor.
Well then, would you move Randall, leave Randall at power forward, and put Okafor at center then?
I think I would have to. And a lot of people say that Jaleel can't guard anybody, and that might be true. We're going to find out. But when he was at Duke, they basically told him not to foul because they had absolutely no depth. So he was essentially just told to go straight up and don't like really attempt to play that great of defense, which I kind of understand. But he definitely needs to add some weight, even though he's like almost 300 pounds, which is crazy. He's still kind of thin.
Yeah, dude.
But he's also only 19, so.
Yo.
Number 3 is Philly. I don't know. It's kind of.
Tank.
Just wave the white flag right now, and just they could do anything they want. Whatever falls to them, I could see that I could make a case for Okafor if he's there, even though they have the 2 big guys, because basically for them they just need to go best player available. So whoever they think the best player available is, they should take.
Yeah. Kind of like I was talking about we were talking about the big men not being reliable.
Yep.
A la last year's Joel Embiid getting hurt right away, foot issues. That's big.
That's the thing. Like, when out of college, he already has foot problems. That's not good. It's like with Kevin Durant, man. He's already got foot problems, and he's only 24 or 25 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's rough. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hinkie traded this pick for like 80 second rounders or something. Just to add to his stockpile of second rounders. I was looking on here. Philly has like 8 incoming second rounders or something like that this year. It's unbelievable.
I believe it.
It's, oh my goodness. But yeah, I think if Russell is there, he's probably the guy. But what do you think? What do you think they'll probably do?
Yeah, I got D'Angelo Russell going to them as well. Just because, they got rid of Carter Williams last year. And then they were kind of left with Tony Roden and Ish Smith to play point guard, and didn't really work out that well. And they need a spark.
They need a guard
to go next. Yeah.
They need a guard or just anybody that they could go to, and that's what's that's lucky for Russell, because if he goes there, he's automatically the guy. Day one he's the guy. So I think that would be probably best fit for Philly, and I think that would be best fit for Russell too, who was probably one of the better scorers in college last year. Ohio State was kind of just a mess last year, but Russell was definitely the bright spot that they had. Because I have it up on my screen, Philly has 5 second-round picks next in this upcoming draft, and they have 4 second-round picks next year. That is insane.
They're just gonna keep moving them.
That is just insane.
Year to year, they're gonna move.
And the thing that they can do, teams who are in the back end of the first round who don't want to pay first round money can just, hey, Philly, give us those 2 second-round picks that we don't have to guarantee money to. Here's a first-round pick. They got tons of ammo to utilize that stuff for. So, all right, number 4, the Knicks. This is where initially I thought maybe there would be a trade. Maybe you could see something like the Nuggets moving up there. Maybe you could see something, another team possibly moving up there. I think it really depends for the Nuggets who's there for them.
Yep.
I think if Moutier or Russell is left, I don't know if they pull the trigger on anything. I think if Okafor or something like that falls to them, I think that would be best fit. Yep. Do a Ty Lawson, Kenneth Faried, and maybe Wilson Chandler for the 4th. Because the Knicks will have money. They have plenty of money. They could work things around where that trade would work. And the Nuggets would then have the 4th pick and the 6th pick. And I mean, if you really want to go full rebuild, I think that would be awesome. What do you think? Resident Nuggets fan.
I mean, it depends on who's there, but in reality, I think they'll stay put right there. I think the Knicks, if Karl Anthony Towns is somehow still there, they're snagging him.
Oh, absolutely. I honestly think if Anthony Towns was still there, I think the 76ers, and I think the Lakers would too. I think the Lakers would take Anthony Towns over Jaleel. Do you?
Yeah, they could. Just because of all the hype that's going around him and all of his work ethic.
Yeah.
Is what I think they're going to go off of, and the game from Kentucky doesn't hurt at all.
Exactly.
I mean, guys straight up beast.
They had a video of him shooting threes, like just drilling them too.
Yeah, I saw that.
NBA threes, that's insane. Yeah, I think
that's where we're headed in the NBA though. It's threes. Yeah, everybody threes.
I know it. I think the Knicks would be happy, I guess, to take whatever's left this year. I think there's redeemable qualities for any one of the top 4 players. And I mean, even top 5 if you want to throw Porzingis in there, because I think he could definitely be a really good player. It depends on what system he goes to. He can't be. I don't think he can immediately be regarded as like a go-to player, but as like your third option on a good team, he could probably be your third option on a really good team.
Yeah. And I don't want to let this guy slide too long either. Despite what people are saying, I really think Willie Cauley-Stein could go earlier than what people are thinking.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff with him at 6 to the Kings. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of wheeling and dealing. I don't know if the Kings are going to stay put there, but I think if they were going to take Cauley-Stein, the Kings would be happy with him because, I mean, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but at 6, if the Kings took Cauley-Stein, you put him right next to Cousins, who could easily play power forward, could have a lot more freedom, won't have to worry about guarding the other team's center every night, or you could just go matchup based, whoever the best big man is, put Cauley-Stein on him, let DeMarcus Cousins have the easier of the two, and just have him go off on a nightly basis,
Yep.
So I guess we'll just have the Knicks take. For me, it's Knicks are taking whatever's left, man. They get whatever's left of the Moutier, Russell, Okafor, Towns angle for me, if they're not trading.
Yeah, I don't see the Nuggets pushing for that yet.
And another interesting thing maybe at 4, they would maybe trade with the Pacers, maybe do 4 11 in Hibbert or something like that, or 4 for. They'd probably have to get more than just 11 in Hibbert, but I know the Pacers are trying to move him. I know for a fact they're trying to get rid of him.
Yep.
All right, the Magic. The Magic have been doing this thing for the last couple years, where they draft these young guys and they just tell everybody, "All right, we're coming." Are they gonna be anything this year? Like they've finally built it up to the point where they have all these like young players that I like individually, but just as a unit can't do anything.
Well, Logan, this will be the year that they trade out of that first pick.
Are they trading down? What are they doing?
And they're gonna trade down, they'll trade down, and I think they're gonna trade him with the Nuggets, and they're gonna snag themselves Mr. Ty Lawson, Ken Freed, and J.J. Hickson, and 2 unspecified second rounders, kind of load up there. And I think the Nuggets will end up getting back something along the lines of Alfred Payton, Channing Frye, and that 5th pick. I think with that pick, the Nuggets will kind of surprise people and take Stanley Johnson.
Guy from Arizona, though. I've seen him as high as 5. I've seen him up there in some drafts. I think with a lot of these guys in college,
he's a stronger version of Kenneth Reed.
Yep.
Really, because he's still 6'6", but he's 242 pounds, which I believe is about 10 to 20 pounds heavier than Fareed.
Yep.
So he'll be able to actually box out.
And won't be afraid to bang around, Fareed kind of had that reputation of just being lax on the defensive end.
Yeah, he was kind of weak down there. I mean, it was fun to watch. I can't deny loving to watch him play, but it's rough when you're watching him on defense and stuff, and he's just kind of letting guys go around him, or he's not putting a body on somebody.
Yep.
You can't have that.
I think the Magic have a lot of decisions to make. If they really wanted to go for it, I think your trade makes sense for them to get 2 starters, that you could plug in next to a Vukovic, that you could plug in next to a Tobias Harris, who they also have to make a decision on if they want to bring him back. And then
Oladipo there.
And with Oladipo there as well, I mean, and if they trade Peyton, I think that would be interesting to see. I mean, if they're getting Ty Lawson back, I don't think it would hurt them to have to get rid of Peyton.
Yeah.
I mean, Peyton's best case scenario would probably be a guy like Lawson, but probably slightly grades out, probably slightly better on defense. But yeah, Orlando has a ton of decisions to make because they need to get good, man. It's not like they're in a great conference. They have all these young players that they've been telling everybody are coming. I like Vukovic.
Yeah.
They gave him a poison pill contract that's pretty sizable. I like Tobias Harris. They just have a lot of these guys that I don't know if they work well with Scott Skiles, who's going to want them to play defense and will, essentially grade them out on how hard they play defensively. So they have a lot of decisions to make. I could see them making the trade. I could see them taking Porzingis and putting him next to Vukovic. I could see them reaching for Hezonja if they decide to let Harris go. So they have a lot of options that they could do this year. All right, 6, the Kangs. I don't know with this team, man. I like. They're another one of those teams where, I like individual players, but as a unit, they're just awful.
Yep.
I like Rudy Gay.
Yeah.
I like DeMarcus Cousins. I guess I don't hate Collison. I understand what he is as a player, but I don't hate Collison. But they just can't. And I know they play in the West, but it's like they started off so well, and then they fired their coach. It was so dumb, so dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. What is their identity?
They don't have one.
What are they trying to build?
Their identity is Cousins. That's it. That's not a great identity to have. I mean, he's a great player, but he's a mess.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I had a hard time figuring out what they were going to take.
Yeah, I know. Who do you got? Who do you have him taking?
I had him taking Okafor at one point, but then I was like, no.
If he fell.
And with all this stuff that's going on now, with people suddenly really falling in love with him, he's not gonna fall.
Yep.
So, I mean, if anything, they'll probably either go with another big man, such as Willie Cauley-Stein, because I don't think he's off the board yet.
Yep.
Or I could maybe even Kelly Oubre, Miles Turner. One of those guys.
I really want the Bucks to trade up for Miles Turner. I digress, but I'll just say that I really want them to trade up for Miles Turner, because Texas mishandled him so badly. I mean, that kid is so good, and Texas just couldn't do anything. They probably did the right thing by firing Barnes down there in Texas. But you look at the Kings roster, you go Rudy Gay. Probably not worth his contract, but he's a good player. DeMarcus Cousins, great player, all-star, one of the best centers in the league. And then you just have this log jam at power forward at this team. You got Williams, a bust. They didn't draft him, I realize that, but he's a bust. Carl Landry, Jason Thompson and Carl Landry both make over $6 million a year. That's kind of, I mean, that's a redundancy. You don't need them both. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Kings make a couple of trades. I don't know if they stay at 6. If they do, I agree with you. I think they take Cauley-Stein as someone to pair next to Cousins. But they just, the way they draft, I think their owner meddles too much. You know what I mean? Obviously, you see with the firing of their coach, the drafting of Nick Stauskas way earlier than anyone had him slotted.
And they barely even used him this year.
They barely even used him. That kid lost his confidence in his 3-point shot. And what was he in college? What was he when he came in? Shooter, knockdown shooter. Can't hit anything when he comes in. And why would you draft him? You have Ben McLemore. The Kings are just a sorry team right now. They've got a new stadium coming. They're probably gonna do a New Jersey thing too. Every team is doing that right now, but they need help. And I think Cauley-Stein, it's not like a sexy pick or anything because he's obviously just doesn't have a great offensive game. But sometimes it's okay to take a guy who has an elite skill at one spot and can help you win games. And I think that's what Cauley-Stein will do. All right, moving on to the Nugs, who've already selected Stanley Johnson. Is this
Justice Winslow?
I was gonna say, is this where they take Winslow?
Not wasting any time, man.
they're
that boy.
They're running off to the podium with that envelope.
Yep. Nuggets on the clock, and the selection is in.
Yeah, I mean, I like Winslow. He was obviously the best player in the tournament. I think he still probably has some questions about shooting ability, but if he gets in Denver. And who do they hire as their coach? They hired that assistant, right? Denver?
I think they're leaning towards it. They did a second interview with Mike Malone.
Oh, that's right.
But they really like Melvin Hunt.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think if they're going to start shipping players out that like Melvin Hunt, I really see him just going right back to the bench as an assistant. And possibly Mike Malone. Yep.
And I think
because if you don't have the guys that really are supporting you and really like you, then you're not going to hire that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Nuggets are obviously probably one of the best case scenarios to make a lot of moves this year. In my opinion, they should just load up on prospects, whatever kind that they could get. I think the trading of Lawson and Fareed, which I think would be a nice little package to a team, that wants to make a push. Like, you had the Orlando trade. The Knicks would probably certainly be interested. Even a team, like, what are the Hornets doing? They're kind of stuck in neutral right now. I know they signed Kemba, but maybe they could go double point guard. A lot of teams do that. Maybe someone like the Pistons could be interested. I know they have Brandon Jennings, but, you got to come to a time where you got to realize a guy isn't that great of a starter. I think Brandon Jennings would be perfect for a 6-man role. That's just me. Maybe a team like the Jazz wants to make a push. Maybe a team like the Suns are looking to do something because I don't know if they're going to do night. I mean, there's a lot of options out there for the Nuggets. I think Justice Winslow is a perfect pick.
Yeah. I think the Hornets, too, would be, just kind of a side note that, Kenneth Fareed for Cody Zeller for the Hornets, I think would be a really good pick.
Maybe
I think
maybe even snag that pick
MJ
back too.
would really have fun with that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it? Ty Lawson's a NC kid, isn't he?
Yep.
What about straight up? I mean, I don't know.
Good.
I mean, Kemba needs to stay healthy too, though. Yeah, Kemba needs to stay healthy for a while, though.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not like Lawson's deal is terrible. I mean, he was an All-Star and he's making $11 million, $12 million.
Yep. I think it just goes up just barely, 11 and 12.
Yep.
And then I think another 12.
I mean, Wilson Chandler is a guy who a contender might want to take on. A guy
$5 million, man.
Yep, a guy who does everything. Plays defense, shoots threes, can get to the rack. He just is kind of
gritty.
He's gritty.
He's gritty.
He's the Black Dellavedova.
I don't know about that.
I don't even
that dirty.
I don't even want to get started. Oh, all right. Who we got? So we can come to an agreement. We can come to an agreement that the Nuggets are definitely going to do things.
Yeah, lots of things. It's going to be a fun year.
We hope. All right. So we've got the Pistons at 8. Is this where Hezonja goes?
Hezonja, yep. I don't have any other notes on him other than that's it.
Then that's it. He's gonna be shooting. Yeah, I think Hezonja fits. I mean, Van Gundy, he likes the shooters. He obviously just made a trade for Ersan. I think what he's really trying to do is try to mimic what he did when he got the Magic to the finals. I'm going to have a dominant center, and I'm just going to surround him with shooters. He got Ersan Ilyasova, who for all of deficiencies is still a very good three-point shooter. You can take Hezonja, who he's really athletic. He can shoot a little bit. I think defense is going to be your issue, as with all Europeans that come over. But
Yeah.
I think he's probably the best fit.
I feel like on offense or on a team, if you have a really good defensive center and then at least one other really good defender, you might be able to, squeak by with the rest of the roster.
That's a lot of it. And I don't know who that defender for the Pistons is, but the Pistons, it's crazy how many teams are out there like that where you can look at individual players and be like, I like him, he's good. Greg Monroe and Drummond, I thought would be a beautiful pairing. Greg Monroe is your shooter, can kind of stretch the floor a little bit as a four, is a great rebounder, and Drummond is your banger guy who gets all those offensive boards and can score down there, block shots, rebound, but it just the pairing never seemed to work out, and I think Josh Smith hurt a lot, but I don't know. There's a lot of teams in the East that could easily pop into the playoffs this year.
I think Greg Monroe's on his way out too.
Oh,
I think that was
definitely
it.
Today was definitely the big thing because they've got to be starting Ersan, right? Like,
yeah, $8 million to sit on the bench.
Yeah,
I don't know if you do that.
Yeah. All right.
Most teams don't.
The Bucks do. Hello, paging OJ Mayo. But all right, Charlotte Hornets. Rough year after a really interesting run to the playoffs the year prior. Hornets can do anything, man. I really have no idea. What are your thoughts?
I know me and you were talking about Al Jefferson kind of being on his last legs there as a great center, starting wise, and I know most people would say it's a stretch or a reach, or whatever, but I think that they could snag themselves Frank the Tank Kaminsky. Just grab themselves a guy that's NBA ready that can come in there and just kind of do the dirty work down there.
Especially
and then could stretch the floor.
Yep, especially if you do some kind of rotation with him and Zeller, I think that would be perfect because they both can kind of do the same things, right? They both can stretch the floor a little bit. They both will hustle. They both will give you intense defense. They both can pass. So I think that's a great pick. And honestly, I didn't even think of that. Like that never even crossed my mind. That's that's a very good scenario for Frank and for Charlotte.
He's just he's so patient when he gets the ball in his hands, and he's so commanding. Like, you guys need to go here, go there.
Yep.
Oh, nothing's open. All right, I'm gonna see what I can do. Yep. I still can't do anything.
But he's just calm. And the thing about Kaminsky is he's probably as good as he's gonna get. But but that's fine for a lot of teams. He could help right now, and Charlotte is probably one of those teams. I would say Charlotte is one of those teams. Phoenix is one of those teams he could help. OKC, if he fell that far, there's a lot of teams that could use a smart center who just is skilled offensively. A lot of people forget that he just utterly destroyed Anthony Towns, Cauley Stein. He went blow for blow with Jahlil
Okafor. Him apart.
Yeah. He went blow for blow and made him go to the bench, Okafor. I mean, he was all over these guys. So, and that gets passed up a lot, and it's kind of frustrating. And I know the draft is all about potential, but I think he's definitely one of the most skilled big men out of the draft this year.
Yep.
All right, 10, the Heat. The Heat can do whatever they want here. I think they kind of want to win now, so I think they're kind of in that range of, taking a player that can come in and immediately contribute. They definitely have a decision to make with Dang and stuff like that. I don't think Dang expires, but I think, God, does he have an option? I don't even know. But I think Dang, let me just double check here. Yeah, Dang has an option, a player option that I don't know if he decides to decline and try to re-enter for another payday. But I mean, what could he really get? He's making $9 million now. His player option is for 13. I doubt if he re-enters, he's going to get anything close to that.
Yeah.
So I have him taking Oubre. He's a guy that can come in. His upside is good. He can shoot. If they do keep Dang, he kind of almost mimics him, where he's a big body. He's about 6'8". And can get to the hole a little bit if he needs to. I think that it's just kind of a good fit for Miami.
Yeah. And, I mean, I don't know. They really need another point guard, too. I really don't think that Chalmers or Shabazz are going to be the answers. But I think short term, I think they'll just stick with it and see where Napier's ceiling is.
Yeah, because
he can shoot.
Yeah.
He can contribute, but I don't know how far he can take them.
They run the 2-point guard system, don't they? Well, I mean, Goran Dragic can play shooting guard too, but I think they were running a lot of Chalmers Dragic lineups. So
but you need to find out if Dragic
is going to
resign though, because he's got that. Is it a player option, right?
I think he does have a player option. He's got a.
So if he wanted to, he could.
And
opt out and head out to LA.
His player option is only for $7.5 million. If he declines that option, he could easily see 12 or 13 on the open market, and probably out in LA. You're right.
Yep.
Miami's another one of those teams. They obviously have something going on with Wade that probably won't come out, until he's signed or let go. I doubt they would let him go. I mean, have you heard about all that junk coming out?
Yeah. Yep.
I don't see how you could do it if you're the Heat. I think he would still be productive enough. I think he wants a Kobe deal, which is making the Heat a little nervous. But I mean, if it's
just a one-time thing.
Yeah, if it's for 2 years or something like that, just go ahead and make it. Give him his 20 or whatever he wants this year. Then just make it a team option or something like that, or maybe even just go year by year with him and see how he's feeling. Because who knows, man? The way it's been going for him the last couple of years, he's had a rough go.
You can't sign him for anything longer than 2.
Yeah, exactly. You can't. And I've heard a lot of stuff where if the Bulls are thinking about. With Jimmy Butler, because he's definitely going to get a max, and the owners for the Bulls are a bunch of just, stingy peckers. So I don't know if they would, give him the full-blown max. But, so we're in agreement on Oubre for the Heat?
Yep.
All right. Pacers. I have no idea. They could do whatever they want here. I've seen Cameron Payne. I've seen Miles Turner go here. There's a lot of options. I really think they could probably go with Turner, especially if they're looking to go away from Hibbert. But they're one of those teams that are on the fringe of being right back into the playoffs. They're going to have George back. I think Hill is a decent point guard. He's not, one of your big options. David West is getting up there in age. Do you think they just go rebuild around George?
They could. I mean, not to say that the Nuggets are on the same level, but they're kind of in that same boat where they have all these pieces that could contribute on other teams, and they could just start loading up right now on talent.
I mean, if you look at their cap situation, Roy Hibbert has a player option. I think that is the key factor for them to see if they can either move him or whatever. Otherwise, if you look at their roster, there's not a lot of guys making buco bucks. George Hill makes 8. David West is making 12. And if I'm not mistaken, has an option. He has a player option for $12 million. I would assume West would probably pick that up. Because I don't think he'll see anything like that. He could play another year and then get a nice deal the following summer. But
Hibbert probably will pick up his player option too, just to get that money.
yep, and then he'll probably get traded after that.
Yep.
But the Pacers have some decisions to make. I think if they did what the Heat did like 5 years ago when it was just Wade, you know, they let Wade kind of come back because he had that ACL surgery, I believe. They just kind of let Wade do like the Heat did. Let Paul George kind of play his way back a little bit, take it easy, don't really rush him back from the huge injury, and just kind of rebuild around him. I think would be perfect.
Yep.
All right. So I think I'm gonna have them taking Miles Turner here, just to fill the void.
Good.
Yeah, to fill the void with Hibbert. That's just didn't really work out. It was good for the first 2 years, but since then it just hasn't been very good for the Pacers. All right, 12, the Jazz.
Oh man.
They could be making a
They're
trade.
one of those teams where I watch them. You watch them throughout the year, or you look at their roster up and down. You're like, man, that's a decent roster, but
Just
what are
young.
they doing?
They're just young, a lot of it. I think Rodney Hood could be good. I think everyone realizes Trey Burke probably isn't going to be a stud.
No.
He's not going to be, I guess anything more than a rotational player. Maybe he could in a couple years grade out to be a nice little six man, but Dante Exum was a reach last year too. He's going to take a lot of time, I think, to adjust. Maybe he can become a nice shooting guard, but you have to be able to shoot first, which would be nice to see. But I really like Alec Burks. I like Rodney Hood. Rudy Gobert is a great player. Gordon Hayward, I think Gordon Hayward definitely earned that contract. He's definitely the number one guy on that team.
Yep.
Derek Favors is a monster down low. It's hard to get a consistent effort when you have a lot of guys that are that young. And Burks was hurt for a lot of the year last year. And the Jazz were sneakily one of the best teams at after the All-Star break last year. So they could either I could see them making a trade here, maybe to get another veteran, probably to plug in. Maybe this is where you see if Luol Deng takes that player option, maybe this is where you see Luol Deng flip over to the Jazz or something like that. A guy who could come in and just provide some good minutes. Maybe it's a.
I mean,
Go ahead.
If Deng came there, I mean, if anything, they could, bring Alec Burks back to the bench, be a six man.
Yep.
Have Gordon Hayward play the guard role, and be able to just be an animal shooting wise.
Yep.
And then Deng just kind of be there.
Yep. And Deng could be that veteran guy you go to, be the guy defensively for that team. Outside of Gobert, who just has to swat everything that comes to the paint, be a guy defensively on the perimeter to kind of help, because Gordon Hayward really isn't stopping anybody out there. Exum is long, but I think still needs to work on footwork. And Trey Burke is just kind of He's just kind of one of those players.
I don't think Exum is a true point guard.
Yeah, me neither. He's just going to be one of those combo guards, and that's what the NBA is kind of becoming to. Just a lot of combo guards. Like that was the Bucks' dilemma with Knight. Do you keep him and pay him as a combo guard? Do you think he could be your true point guard? So I don't know. I think if the Jazz are going to take someone, I know they've gone point guard the last two drafts, but Cameron Payne is a really high upside guy who could be their point guard of the future from Murray State. This is also a place I could see Sam Decker go. I've seen his name tied to the Jazz a little bit. So they have a lot of options, and that's the great thing about this year in this draft. There's tons of options for all of these teams.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one, I would probably say Decker is probably going to go to the Jazz.
You just gotta wonder which Sam Decker is going to show up.
That's the thing too.
The NCAA championship Decker or the rest of the playoffs Decker.
Yep. And he's a guy who was constantly looking over his shoulder to Bo. I mean, he just... It's one of those situations where if Decker tried to ISO up, which is basically the NBA in general, he would get taken out right away. Or he would get a snarl from Bo or something. And I think he needs a team that is still relatively young, where he can come in on a second unit and just kind of play the way he wants to play, And I think the Jazz would fit that really well.
Yeah.
All right, so the Suns. The Suns have a lot of decision-making to do. I think they're basically all in on keeping Knight. I mean, they traded that protected Lakers pick for him, essentially, so I think they're going to keep him around. I really like Bledsoe, but, I mean, do you think he's a guy who could potentially be on the block if they keep Knight?
Bledsoe? Oh, man. I feel like Bledsoe's been on the block the last
his whole
year
life.
So, honestly. I mean, he got traded, from the Clippers to the Suns because he wanted to play. And then pretty much day one, he's been on the block because they don't know what he is. And he can't, he just won't contribute, I think, the way they want him to.
Yep. And
Hold on.
What's that?
Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. Well, they gave Bledsoe that big deal, so he's going to average about $14 million until 2018. You gotta think Knight is probably gonna get the same thing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And you
because
can't.
He's kind of the same guy, but I think he's a better passer.
Exactly, and you can't invest that much money into one position, right? You can't invest $28 million into your point guard position and expect to be successful out west. So.
No.
Unless.
Not when they're gonna want to go head to head.
Yep. Unless they fully move Knight to shooting guard, which could be feasible. I think it's a role that probably suits him better, actually. But they have some decisions to make. I mean, Len, I don't know. I don't know what Alex Len is going to be. He's okay. Gerald Green, he expires. They got the Morris twins over there, who I like, but they're just kind of, they're just kind of middle of the road guys. They're not guys that are.
Yeah.
So they've got some cap space coming up this year, I think. Brandon Wright expires on him. Gerald Green expires on him. Danny Granger, I think, is gone. Not that he makes that much money, but they've got a whole lot of decisions coming up, especially with the point guard position. I really have no idea what they're doing. And honestly, they could probably get a nice little package for Bledsoe if they wanted. Because them fighting for 45 wins, trying to get the 8 seed in the West ain't gonna cut it, especially the way that that roster is set up.
If they really wanted to, they could take this pick and Bledsoe and flip it for something pretty good. They could Bledsoe for the 4th and a couple of the Knicks young guys, and then they could take the best player left in the top 4. Wouldn't be that bad of an idea, I would think. I mean, that way you would get the 4th, you keep your 13th, you take care of your point guard problem because you keep Knight, and then you get a great young player you could plug in right away. Yep.
There's a lot of ways they could do it. If they stick with 13, they probably need a guard. And they really don't have that great of shooters. This might be a spot where you see Devin Booker go, and it might be a little early for him, but he is probably the best shooter in the draft. And he's still very young. He was a freshman, and he's coming out. I think if you bring a guy like that, you can just bring him off the bench and be like, "Here, kid, just shoot." I think would fit pretty nice for him.
Yeah, I had either Devin Booker or Cameron Payne going to the Suns. So
going there, yep. All right.
Yep.
OKC 14. Do you think this pick gets moved for them to try to bring in one more veteran? I think the Thunder.
I think so.
I mean, obviously you have your Westbrook and you have your Kevin Durant. I think they would like to try and sniff out one more guy that could come in and just score points. If not, this is honestly something I thought maybe you could see, because they need bench scoring. That's been one of their huge problems. And without Reggie Jackson now, they don't have anybody to come off the bench and just score. So I was thinking maybe you could see maybe O.J. Mayo going here, who's a guy who could definitely come off the bench and shoot for you. I could see a whole lot of other situations, but if they are going to draft someone, oh boy, Jerian Grant is a point guard who I like, who is kind of raw still, but might fill that void of a backup point guard to fill in for. I just said his name. I forgot. He got traded to Detroit. Jackson.
Jackson, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. What's your thoughts here?
The Thunder kind of. I mean, I think they're just a couple of scores away from being back. Right back in the hunt for the championship.
Right yep.
I mean, they haven't really been themselves since they traded away Harden, who was their scorer off the bench, their sixth man.
I think that's going to go down as one of the worst trades. I mean, let's just go ahead and look and see what they got back for that. They got Jeremy Lamb, and then they got Kevin Martin, and they got
who stayed for 1 year.
Yep, and was it? I don't even know who else they got in that deal, but it was not a good move at all. You gotta think there should have been better pieces around there somewhere. But I mean, obviously you love Durant, you love Westbrook. Ibaka is one of the best at his position at what he does. Do you think they keep Enes Kanter?
I don't know. I think he kind of seemed to be auditioning.
Yeah,
more or less.
That's exactly what that trade was. That's exactly what it was.
He kind of stepped up again.
He did.
Like, he kind of stepped into what you would expected him to be for the Jazz, but never really did it. And then, kind of coming out of nowhere.
Yep. And
could be
I think
nice little trade chip.
Yep. I think for the Thunder, he fits really nice for him. I think, obviously, they want to start Steven Adams, who is just chippy and will rebound and will play defense right next to Ibaka, who does the same thing. But, Serge is really good at, backside blocks and weak side help. So you put Steven Adams on the other team's starting center or best player, and you bring a guy like Kanter off the bench who, isn't stopping anybody defensively, but, if he's part of a second unit and is just allowed to go in there and score like he can, I think he fits perfectly for that team.
Yeah.
And I think
it's just a matter of whether or not the Thunder want to keep him or not.
Yep, that's the thing, and at what price? Because I don't know. Everything I've read and I've seen says with Kanter, his agent is insane. So he thinks he's gonna get a lot of money. But I could definitely see Jerian Grant going here. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe even if they wanted to go the point guard route, Jerian Grant or Tyus Jones.
Yeah, Tyus Jones I think would be kind of one of the better fits. He's just so energetic, and that's all they're going to look for. Just a guy that's going to come in, run into the paint, and just try to score, kind of like Reggie Jackson did.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we have the Atlanta Hawks at 15. They had a great run. I think. Have you ever seen the movie Moneyball?
I haven't yet.
Okay. The Atlanta Hawks are basically the Moneyball idea, with basketball. So you have a bunch of guys who are just good at what they do. Don't really cost you that much money. You kind of do it with pieces put together, which the A's were for that movie. But when you get up against real competition, it just crumbles. And that is exactly what happened with the Hawks. I think they're probably going to need to draft a big guy. Paul Millsap is a free agent. DeMar Carroll is a free agent. Al Horford
He's
is going
gone.
to be. Yeah, Al Horford is going to be a free agent in a couple years. I think this is where they take Trey Lyles. Where Trey Lyles probably goes off.
Yep.
And I know it's
Yep.
another big guy for Kentucky who was on the bench going in the top 15, but you know, I think he was a 5-star coming out of high school. He's a good player. He's got a decent NBA body. He's really skilled around the basket. Can shoot a little bit. I think he fits. And the one thing that I've read was his passing ability is really good, and that's exactly what Atlanta wants. So,
Yeah. I think another good fit would be Bobby Portis.
yeah,
He's got, he's 6'11". He's got a nice 7'2" wingspan, huge vertical for his height,
yep,
and put him next to Horford, and they're just gonna, do things down in the paint.
yeah, I would agree. All right, so, and a lot of people are probably thinking, wait, Atlanta made it all the way to Eastern Conference Finals, and they had the best record in the East. Why do they have 15? They were allowed to flip picks.
Yep.
I can't remember with who, but it was probably part of the Brooklyn deal. Actually, it was the Brooklyn deal that allows
Yep.
them to flip with Brooklyn this year, or actually just take it.
Yeah,
off.
'cause I remember reading a lot of Hawks fans on my Twitter account, just hoping that the Brooklyn pick fell so far.
Yep, so that they
That
could
they
they
were
could
able to
swap. Yep. All right.
Yeah.
So then we've got Boston. I kind of like what they're doing over there. They don't really have one particular player other than Sullinger that I wouldn't mind being on my team. But I think oh gosh, what's his name? Little point guard, little tiny point guard. He played for the Kings for a while.
Isaiah.
I think Isaiah Thomas
Oh.
just fits them perfectly because he's allowed to be the guy over there, and he just
Yep.
goes crazy.
Yep. He had some huge games where he just went off.
Yep. I think this is where probably a guy like Tyus Jones goes. I don't know how much point guard depth the Celtics have. I know that they really liked what's his name again? I don't know why I'm doing this right now. Point guard
Which one?
Isaiah Thomas.
Oh.
I don't know. I guess Isaiah Thomas is a nice little deal. But they're just kind of a team of guys who somehow managed to make the playoffs. I know they just drafted Smart, but I'm trying to think. Where does this team go? Do they? I mean, could they use another forward? Is this where you see a guy like Vaughn or Hollis Jefferson go? This probably is a good spot for Hollis
Yep.
Jefferson, honestly.
Yeah. We're really good. I've also seen RJ Hunter's name linked
Yeah,
to Boston.
I've seen
Bring another guy
Yep.
like that.
I've seen Hunter in a lot of spots around 16, 17, and 18 for a lot of teams. All right, and one of the teams he was linked to was the Milwaukee Bucks at 17. I don't think I've been this excited about the team in a really long time. Last year was a lot of fun to watch because they finally let the young guys do it.
Yep.
It was what Bucks fans had been hoping for years, to kind of just not do the whole I'm going to chase the 8th seed. But they have tons of cap space. They have an obvious core of who to build around. And it's crazy to think that, does that core even involve Carter Williams? He's the 4th option, as far as young guys are concerned, because you got Jabari, you have Giannis, you have Middleton, who has turned into a fantastic player on both sides of the court. You have all this cap space. You could easily get a max or a close to max player and Middleton. So I think what they decide to do is probably draft someone with high upside, kind of like they did with Giannis at this
Yep.
spot in the draft. So I could see a guy like Bobby Portis going here. I could see a guy like Kevin Loney, or who's a Milwaukee native, go here. And I think, especially with Ursan gone, the log jam at power forward kind of disappears. And I know, drafting a young power forward just puts another log jam there. But if the guy's young and has a lot of potential, I think it's a completely different story.
Yeah.
And I've seen R.J. Hunter here a couple times too for the Bucks, which I wouldn't be mad at.
No, I don't know if it'd be the right fit though. I mean,
exactly. I mean,
I think a guy that can play small forward or power forward, maybe even slide into the center spot if you're gonna play small ball, would be the ideal case.
Yeah. That's why I want Miles Turner so much.
Yeah.
But, I mean, unless they're able to trade up, I don't know if they're going to be able to get there. But Bobby Portis is a name I wouldn't mind hearing on draft night. Kevon Looney is another name. Yeah, I'd be happy with either of them.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So we've got 18, the Houston Rockets. This is definitely where I could see R.J. Hunter going. I don't know. It just seems like Morey is a guy who would be like, this guy can stretch the floor. He's long. This is what I like.
Yeah. Yeah. Need someone to go along with Harden that can come in, next to Ariza as well and just shoot the lights out.
Exactly.
Or at least try to.
At least try to. And, off the bench. All right. Off the bench, I think he would be a perfect guy to do that. And you know what? Even if he doesn't get a lot of minutes right away, pairing a guy like him with Harden, I think, would be perfect.
Yeah.
So.
And then too, I wonder, with Patrick Beverly, you got him coming up here, and he's
probably
one heck of a defender. So you got to decide: do we want to draft ourselves a point guard in Jerry and Grant, or if Tyus Jones is still there? Tyus Jones
is there, exactly.
You have to take it.
I agree. The Rockets are a good team. I think they kind of got out-bullied by every team they played.
Yep.
Even though you have one of the biggest centers in the league, every time he seems to just get muscled around by guys. So, I mean, if they, let's say they take a flyer on Montrezl Harrell or something like that, who isn't going to back down from anybody, and goes in there and just, rebounds and defends like he can, I think he would be a perfect fit for Houston.
Yep.
All right.
Be a good guy to give breaks to Howard.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So we got the Washington Wizards, who were probably a Beal and a Wall injury away from making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Who you got?
Really one of them. Hollis Jefferson, if he's still there.
Yep.
They need it. They need it.
And it was really.
Paul Pierce is going to the bench next year.
Yep. If he doesn't retire.
Yeah.
This is where I think we could see a Portis or a Loney go, whatever one is available there. I propose the idea of maybe the Bucks being interested if Washington wants to do a salary dump, which they very well might do because they are committed long term to Gortat, which is quickly looking like it's going to be one of the worst deals in the NBA coming up. If they want to have that much money tied up at the big men positions, because you're paying Gortat an average of 11 to 12 million. You're paying Nene 13 this year, and he hasn't. He's got 13 left on his deal. Maybe he's a guy that you get rid of, and if you want to, make a splash in free agency, maybe you could go. You get rid of Nene and you sign someone like Monroe long term who could fit in here. So this was an area that I think maybe, a team looking to pick up the 19th pick in a salary dump could, probably make a move.
Oh, easily.
As far as if they kept the pick, I think they're probably going to anticipate, the Nene retirement or going to another team. I think, a guy... Oh, boy. Montrezl Harrell, if he doesn't get taken, is a good fit there. Chris McCullough is a guy who could go there who, is kind of a big-time, high upside guy who might take a little while to kind of, come around. But I watched Syracuse enough to know that he could, and especially at this point in the draft, you're basically going for potential anyway. So he's a guy I could see go there. Otherwise, whatever's left for Portis or Loney, anything like that.
Yeah.
Who's next? We got the Toronto Raptors. I think they're a team that's a player away too.
Yeah.
Their cap situation isn't great.
No, because they're about to pay Terrence Ross big bucks.
Yep, and that's the thing that I would be kind of worried about if I was a Raptors fan. I don't know how keen I am on Ross. It just all kind of came out this year in the playoffs, just kind of how flawed of a player that he is. I like his length.
Yep.
And if he's shooting corner threes, that's fine. But he gets this weird idea that he's this star and will just chuck and chuck and chuck.
Yep.
Landry Fields comes off for them. Amir Johnson comes off for them. That clears up.
Lou Williams.
Yep. Lou Williams comes off, who they might keep around. I think they like him coming off the bench. But even with all those guys coming off, they don't have a whole lot of cap space.
No.
So I think this is a pick where you'll probably see them go high potential again. I think maybe a guy like Wright out of Utah, dude is a 6'6" point guard.
Yep.
Who has a lot of upside, could be the backup right away, and he's gonna defend, which is helpful. Which Lowry isn't necessarily known for his defense, so I think that would help you. And Valanciunas eventually has got to show something. He's a guy who has a really good PER. He rebounds nicely, but he really just doesn't get the ball offensively. And when he does, it just kind of slows everything down. I mean, he just doesn't fit what the Raptors like to do,
Yeah.
So I almost wonder, do you think he could be a potential trade option for the Raptors?
He could be, because he is that big guy that can, for the most part, kind of get you the rebounds. Has a really good mid-range jumper. I think
he's really skilled around the basket.
A lot of teams.
Yeah, he's really skilled around the basket. It's just he doesn't get many opportunities.
No, and he needs the opportunities because he could be a top 10 center.
Yeah, he could be really good. He's got the size. I like his footwork. He's kind of slow and plodding, but he reminds me of like a Pekovic. You know what I mean? Like, he's kind of slow, but everything he does is methodical and it's thought out. Like, all the moves he makes are very good. And he's got this nice little over-the-shoulder baby hook that is really good. He just doesn't get the opportunity. We're getting kind of the point in the draft where it's basically a crapshoot. So we don't necessarily have to go through and make picks for each team, but why don't we just kind of go through and just talk about these teams, maybe what their plan is coming up for the offseason. So at 21, we have the Mavericks. They're a team that is, kind of slowly fading into obscurity. They made the playoffs again this year, but were beaten 5 games. Tyson Chandler is gone. Rajon Rondo is gone. Monte Ellis, I think, is probably going to enter the draft pool because he has a player option. what do you think this team could possibly do? Do you think it's kind of the end of, not really that it was a dynasty, but they had a solid 12-year reign where they were one of the best teams in the West. Do you think this is kind of the signal of the end of like that kind of run they had as a? I would call them as an elite team.
Yep. I think last year really was the end of their championship run.
Yeah.
I think at this point, the Rondo experiment failed miserably.
Terrible.
I think a lot of us, including myself, I really thought it was going to work out.
I did too.
I thought Rondo was going to take it all in. I thought the signing of Stoudemire was really good.
Yep.
I don't think it panned out the way they wanted it to. Tyson Chandler rather, is up there. He's not banging like he could. If anything, this is a movement towards it being Chandler Parsons' team.
Yep, exactly.
I see them kind of building around him.
Yep, I see them slowly phasing out Dirk, who, I mean, one of the top 20 players of all time. I would easily put him in a top 20. He, for a long time, was one of the better centers in the league. I'm really happy that he got a title. He was, that was one of the last teams where it was just one guy who won the title. You know what I mean? It was Dirk and a bunch of other guys. Tyson Chandler was on that team, but it's not like he was a top 5 center. Marion was on that team. He wasn't a top 5 small forward. It was just a bunch of guys, and they won. I mean, Barea was a big part of that team.
Yeah, a bunch of aging guys too, really.
Yep,
because
old dudes. It was a bunch of old
JJ
dudes.
Kidd was the starting point guard.
Kidd was the point guard. Man, I don't even know who they had as a shooting guard on that team. I think it was not Lance Stevenson, was Deshaun Stevenson was the shooting guard, because he was the LeBron stopper. You remember that?
Yep.
Oh man, what a great series! I was so happy that LeBron lost that one, and now here I am. I'm not rooting for him, but I wouldn't care if he won this year for Cleveland.
Well, I'll talk about that at the end of the thing here. I'll talk about my thoughts.
All right. So then we've got the Bulls at 22. If that team could stay healthy, they would be so good.
Man, I think mostly it's just a matter of kind of picking and choosing free agency this year.
Yep.
I don't think they need to blow anything up at all. Yep. Just hope like hell that Jimmy Butler gets his deal.
Yeah, that they pay him. Just pay the man. You can't let a guy
like that walk.
Pay the man.
You can't let him walk.
Nope.
Otherwise, they have the pieces there.
I think someone needs to sit Rose down and tell him, Jimmy is going to be our number one option. You're a great player. We love everything that you've done for this city and for this team, but you have to take a step back for yourself and for the team. Because if he's going to try to be the number one option and run around and shoot all these deep twos, which he's not very good at all game, that's not going to help him. It needs to become Jimmy Butler's team. He needs to he needs to dictate how things go. And Rose, who could certainly work off the ball on drives, and he is one of the only guys who can compare to LeBron when he drives to the basket and is able to just pass the ball ridiculously somewhere, where how the hell did he make that pass? Him and LeBron are some of the only guys who can do that.
Yep. All
right, Portland's got. I think they're gonna have to start over, man. They've got a couple of guys that are walking away. Aldridge, I think, is gone. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he played his last game.
Yep.
He's either gonna try and win a championship with the Spurs.
Yep.
Just kind of come in and fill out with them for one final run, one last hurrah for Duncan and them.
Yep.
Otherwise, I've seen ties to Dallas and the Mavericks.
Yep, me too.
Kind of starting out with Parsons. I mean, 2 great centerpieces.
Yep, absolutely. And do you think if Duncan does the one last hurrah, how much do you think he takes? How much money do you think he takes?
That I think Aldridge takes?
Or Duncan. Because they'd probably have to give Aldridge a max, don't you think?
Yeah, Duncan has been content, with that $10 million, which is
Yep.
mighty awesome.
Do you
'cause
think?
you don't see that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he could drop down to the 7 or 8. I don't see any lower than 7.
Yeah, me
But
neither.
if Aldridge kind of gives him a heads up, hey, I'll come to San Antonio. Duncan goes ahead and does his thing.
And I even think let's say Duncan and Ginobili just straight up retire. They've got to sign Kawhi. If they, I mean, they have to pay Kawhi. They could pay Kawhi and Aldridge and just have a brand new core right there, and that would be. I mean, oh my gosh, Popovich would lick his chops to be able to go from Duncan to Aldridge.
Yep. And be like, all right, well, I guess I'm not actually going to retire.
Yeah, exactly.
Not yet.
Yep.
I got another 8 years.
But yeah, Portland, Aldridge is gone. Batum has 1 year left. Wes Matthews is probably going to be gone. Damian Lillard, I think a lot of the stuff with Damian Lillard is fool's gold. He shoots a lot, and I think he overshoots. I don't know. I know he hit a lot of big shots his rookie year, but I'm starting to think he's becoming a little bit of a chucker.
Yep.
What do you think?
I think he let everything get to his head after the playoffs last year.
Yep.
Really.
When he made that big shot against Houston, I think that was it.
That was it. Oh, I'm the man.
Yep.
I shoot anything I want.
Yep. Is it weird that I like Myers Leonard? Is it weird that I think Myers Leonard is going to be a good player? Especially with the way the NBA is going.
Years ago.
Huh?
I hated Leonard there was a specific game I hated him for 3 years ago, but
oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot.
He's high energy. He's gonna be gritty. He's gonna do, even if he gets paid, he's still gonna get in there and do dirty work
and shoot threes.
He's not gonna be afraid of contact.
Yeah.
Him and Chris Anderson and him are actually quite similar.
Yep. He's not. He looks soft, but he really doesn't back down from many people.
No. No, he's not scared.
But I mean, if you go and look at Portland's top salaries, Aldridge is on top. He's gone. Batum is second. He's gonna be gone in a year. Wes Matthews is up there. He's gone. Robin Lopez. He's gone. I mean, Pacers are probably gonna have to rebuild.
Yep.
And
it's.
I mean, they're lucky they have a guy like Lillard.
It's sad.
Yeah. I mean, they're lucky they have a guy like Lillard to rebuild around. But that could also be a double-edged sword because the guy already likes to shoot a lot.
Yep.
And if he's the only guy there, he might get some bad tendencies. So.
Yep.
All right. So after that, we've got Cleveland. Can I just say pass? Can I just pass on this? I mean, you have LeBron James, who just missed a 3. Awesome. By the way, score update: Golden State 40, Cleveland 30.
Yeah.
Yep. God, Draymond, you're awful.
I'm trying to catch glimpses of it.
Yeah, I know. Draymond is killing him right now. He's scared to shoot. But, I mean, look, all you need to say is LeBron. It depends on what LeBron does. It depends on who LeBron recruits. Cleveland, it depends on what they do with Love, if Love wants to stay. So, I don't know.
Yep. Dellavedova.
Yeah. Give him a max. Give him a max.
Linsanity.
That's exactly what it is. That is exactly what it is. All right. So we've got Memphis. Is it a foregone conclusion that they're losing Marc Gasol?
Yeah. Yep.
You think he's gone?
There's no way he's staying. I have this dream in my head that at the end of Marc Gasol and Pau Gasol's career, they play together on the same NBA team.
Oh man, that would be awesome.
But it doesn't happen though.
So are the Bulls gonna trade Noah and they're just gonna bring in Pau? Or bring in Mark, I mean.
That's what I want to happen.
Yep.
That's what I want to happen. So I'm gonna stick with that.
Oh man. That a lot of people on Brew Hoop, the Bucks thing, are like, now that we have this money, Marc Gasol said he wants to play in the East. Maybe him playing in Milwaukee, being close to Chicago next to his brother, would be a recruiting point. I don't think Marc Gasol's ever coming to Milwaukee, but it's a pipe dream. But oh man, he would be a perfect fit. Perfect fit.
That would be big for Milwaukee.
Yeah, that would be a big get. Young core with the old man in the middle.
Yep.
But I mean, I loved that the Grizzlies weren't afraid to be the team that was like, okay, everyone else is doing this 3-point business. We're gonna go Zach Randolph, Marc Gasol. We're gonna beat the piss out of teams down low.
Yep. And it worked for a while.
And it did work for
quite a while actually.
Yep. But I don't know. They have Jeff Green. I don't think he'll stick around. I really like Mike Conley, but he can't be your number one. So Memphis has got some decisions to make. They don't really have a young player who I think you can look to be like, you know what, he's the guy waiting in the wings. He's coming up. So I think it sucks that they're going to lose Marc Gasol. Unfortunately, I think they're probably going to use that money on just, you know, mid-level guys. But I think we're probably going to start to see the demise of Memphis, who had a really nice run as a small market team. They had a really nice run.
Yep. If they're going to build around anyone, it's going to be Jordan Adams.
Yeah, he's young. He's
showing
good.
the flashes.
Yep. And I mean, he was drafted last year, I think, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Was he the one from? God, where was he from? UCLA or something like that, or was he somewhere out? Was he USC or UCLA or something? Somewhere out west. But he could be a good player. And John Lure's out there too.
UCLA, yeah.
Yep. A lot of people rip on John Lure, but he got minutes on a playoff contending team, on a championship contending team. He got solid minutes. Yep. He's a nice player. I don't think he's a star or even a starter, but that's okay. You can create a nice niche for yourself as a guy who just, you know, can come in off the bench, give you good minutes, rebounds, he shoots. All right, yep. San Antonio. So we've already kind of touched on this a little bit. You think they all come back?
I think everyone but Ginobili.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, I don't think his body can do it anymore.
And especially the way he plays, because he still plays a lot for Argentina. I wouldn't be surprised if he retires and takes on a much bigger role in Argentina basketball. Not necessarily as a player, but probably part of the coaching staff or part of the development of young players down there.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I don't see the Spurs having to do too much.
Yep. I mean, they're just the best run. They're like the St. Louis Cardinals of basketball, the best run franchise in the league. All right, so we have already talked about the Lakers and the Celtics. Brooklyn.
Yep.
Is there a worse situation for any other team in the league than Brooklyn's situation? Let me run down.
No.
Let me run down a couple of things for you, if I may.
Oh, please do.
Brooklyn does not have their own first-round pick. They had to flip in 2015. So they have the 29th pick this year. They don't have their first-round pick in 2016 or their second-round pick. They don't have their 2017 first-round pick. They don't have their 2017 second-round pick. They don't have their 2018 first-round pick. They don't have their 2018 second-round pick. They also do not have their 2020 second-round pick. They sacrificed 1, 2, 3 years of their future for a 34-year-old Paul Pierce and a 34-year-old Kevin Garnett. I don't know who their GM is. I think it's Billy King or something like that. If he hasn't been fired, he needs to be. Because that, I mean, and I'm sure a lot of that was dictated from ownership, but...
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we also have a Johnny Manziel sighting. He's sitting courtside at the game. That's a whole nother story. But I think if I was a fan of Brooklyn, I would be pretty sad. There's just... Is there... Can you name a redeeming quality about Brooklyn? Any player?
No. Mason Plumlee?
That's what I was gonna say. I think I like Mason Plumlee. I think I like him, but like, I mean, Tetletovic is a nice shooter. I mean, I guess you could say that. That's nice. But I mean, really, there is no, and they're gonna have to just stink for 3 years, not even get any redemption from that. You know what I mean?
No.
And
they have those nasty contracts with Darren Williams, Brooke Lopez, and Joe Johnson.
they're essentially going
nasty contracts.
they're essentially going to have to be free agent players, and hope that being New York helps them enough. You know what I mean? Because it's an ugly, ugly situation. And they have that Karasev kid who they brought over too. I think they drafted him a couple years ago, but
I think
Cleveland drafted him.
Yeah, and traded.
Oh, that's what it was. But
Yeah.
I think he just
Jared Jack or something.
Yeah, he just came over this year, I think, from Europe, because he was stashed away for a while, wasn't he? I'm not sure.
He's been in the league the last 2 years.
Okay, I know that name, but I know he was drafted a couple years ago at least. He was a first round pick, I know that. But that's about it for them, man. They don't have many redeeming qualities. And then Warriors. I mean, the Warriors don't have to do much. I honestly think, no matter what happens, they'll probably be right back in the championship again next year.
Oh, we have a LeBron cut.
What did he hit? Oh, he went down pretty hard. Bogut. There you go, Bogues. Do the deed, Bogut. Do the deed. Yeah, April. April, do you have any words of wisdom on LeBron James?
Yeah, let me read my Facebook status to you.
But yeah, I mean we're at the end of this thing. So Nick, you go ahead and give me your spiel on this whole thing.
It's awful. I think with LeBron winning all of his titles in Miami, it was, LeBron can't win without superstars. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, in this scenario, if the Cavaliers win the championship this year, this could be the redemption year, because really he hasn't had Kevin Love since the first round of the playoffs. Kyrie Irving has kind of been in and out. Yep. Hasn't really been around. So he really has had to be the guy for the Cavaliers. And I don't need to bring up stats or anything, because we've seen him all over SportsCenter.
Yep. Since
day one, what he's doing, how he's contributed over like 88% of the points.
I saw the pie graph. That was insane.
Yeah.
But I actually think they're stopping the game so he can get his head bandaged up. They're not stopping it. Well, he ran right into a camera. That's another thing.
Yep.
I like that the NBA is an intimate feeling where everything is a part of the game. There's no reason for cameras to be 3 feet away from the out-of-bounds line. So stupid.
No, and he's already back in.
Yeah. So he must have stopped bleeding pretty quick. Oh, no. Now he's got a cut on his hand? What is going on over here? But I don't know. I don't care who wins. I just want this to go 7 games. I would be happy. My thing is, I'd almost want Cleveland to win it just so that whole narrative goes away. But, like...
Yep. Then we can go back to being in the NBA again.
I just can't stand, like, the LeBron fan logic of everything he does is golden. Like, what he's doing right now is spectacular. But I don't want to hear how he's this amazing shooter when he shoots 39% or misses 20 shots and makes 11. And travels.
Well, he's got to make them all. He's got to shoot like Kobe. No, nobody has to shoot like Kobe. Nobody.
But I mean, it just gets frustrating for me sometimes when you see the shoulder tackles and the obvious flailing of the arm out here like this. Like, anybody else does that, they're getting rung up. And I guarantee, especially with Joey Crawford calling this game, you see Draymond Green throw one elbow like that, he's getting teed. And he's probably getting a flagrant too.
Yep.
Whether it connects or not. So.
Well, like the last game, I was kind of sending out messages about Mozgov on the pick and rolls. Before he even turned on the pick and roll, he's pushing the guy that's on him.
Yep.
Pushing him in the back and then cutting to the basket.
Yep.
And no fouls are getting called. And then, obviously we've all seen the LeBron dive or tackle of Curry and nothing being called because he slipped on the floor.
it doesn't matter if contact is incidental like that. It's a foul. If there's contact, Curry obviously had possession of the ball and was ran into it. That's a foul every single time. And
just like when shots are contested, and you flick your wrist and the player defending you is going for the ball and taps your hand.
Yep.
That's a foul. So there's, like you said and I've said, there's no consistency in the NBA
there never
as
is.
to what is a foul.
And there's not going to be any overhaul until something ridiculous happens. And I think it's kind of being slightly exposed this year with all the a lot of times, the refs are saying, okay, we missed this. Like that one game, 4 calls were missed in one play. In one play, there were 4 missed calls. So, hopefully stuff gets done. I don't think they could ever fix the traveling thing. I just think that's one issue that's too far gone. Like they just will never, ever address. But, the tugging, the grabbing, is a foul sometimes, and then sometimes it isn't. That's really frustrating to watch.
Yeah.
They pick and choose, essentially. But
like if it's not going to be, like when you're running around and you're trying to, follow a guy around, kind of the instinct is, I think even in high school basketball, is to kind of tug at the back of their jersey just a little bit
to run
to
with
let them know that
you
you're still on their tail.
Yeah, but as you're running with them, not something that like completely you pull and jerk, but a pull and run with to just kind of guide yourself with them, But
yeah. And, as much as I don't like the way Dellavedova plays, but that's how he gets through all those pick and rolls so quick.
That's how he's guarding Curry. And I think Curry's not like that, but he needs to be more demonstrative like LeBron, where when LeBron gets hit in the body, he's very demonstrative in his body shifts. Curry just kind of, rolls with it and is still fighting for his dribble. Where I think if Curry was more demonstrative on those bumps, he would probably get some calls. I mean, he's the MVP. He would definitely get those calls. And they're doing Curry a lot of off ball tonight, which is very helpful. And oh my gosh, Draymond Green just made a bucket.
That was a good play.
Yep. And that's been open for them all night on those drive, pass, and curls that they've been doing, or those coming off the pick and roll, passing it to one of the big guys, and then having a wing open. That's been open for them all series, and they just can't hit it. And more offensive rebounding stuff for Cleveland. Ugh.
Yeah. And for Cleveland, I think if J.R. Smith just keeps doing what he's doing right now, the Warriors will be okay. I think even April has said, too, that the keys for Warriors in Cleveland, it's going to be J.R. Smith versus Andre Iguodala.
Yep. Who's
going to be hotter the rest of the series.
Yep. J.R. Smith's played poorly. He has not played well.
Yep.
I mean, in Game 1 he hit a couple threes, but that was about it.
Yep.
Oh.
And then Games 2 and 3, he was playing decent, and Iguodala was off.
Yep.
So.
Wow. Do you guess how long we've been doing this thing for?
1 hour, 38 minutes, and 47 seconds.
That's insane. That's a good one. Well, I'm going to hang on to these. I'll put these up, and appreciate you taking the time. It's fun. It's always fun to talk about basketball.
Yeah, like I said, I have all day tomorrow night, and most nights I do. I just kind of forgot last night.
No, that's all right. I wound up watching the hockey game anyways.
Okay.
But, yeah, we'll talk to you later. See as we get closer to the draft, if things shake out, we'll hopefully have an interesting draft night.
Yeah, we will.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
All right.
Take it easy, Nick.
Yep. See ya.
Have fun watching the game.